Dear friend, if you're watching this, I imagine you're somewhere around 60 or more, maybe sitting in your favorite chair with a cup of tea or coffee, the morning sun just beginning to warm the windowsill. Maybe you've got grandchildren running through the house, or maybe it's quiet now, the kind of quiet that only comes after years of noise and laughter have settled into something softer. Either way, I want you to know something right from the start. You are not too old for joy. You are not past your prime. And most importantly, you are not here to keep living for everyone else. I'm writing to you today as someone who has walked many miles in shoes much like yours. At 90, I've lived long enough to see what matters and what doesn't. I've watched people spend their entire lives trying to live up to expectations of parents, spouses, children, society, even strangers. I've seen how easy it is to lose yourself in those expectations, and I've also seen the peace that comes when someone finally turns inward and says, "Enough." That's what this letter is about, not bitterness, not regret, but clarity. Because here's the truth we don't talk about enough at this stage. The best years may still be ahead of you, but only if you choose to focus on yourself. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, "Oh great, another one of you, those self-help types," let me assure you, I'm not here to sell you anything. No programs, no pills, no promises wrapped in shiny paper. Just the plain, unvarnished truth from someone who's been where you are now and made every mistake there is to make along the way. Let me tell you a story. When I was 62, I thought my life had peaked. My kids were grown. My marriage had ended quietly, like a candle burning down. And I found myself alone in a house that suddenly felt far too big. I spent a lot of time worrying about what others thought of me, my ex-wife, my children, even old friends. Did they think I'd failed? Was I still useful? Still lovable? It wasn't until I met an old friend again by chance, one I hadn't seen in decades, that something shifted. We sat in a little cafe near the beach, and over coffee, he said something that stuck with me. You ever notice how life gets quieter as you get older? It's like the world steps back and gives you space to finally hear yourself again. And he was right. The noise fades, the expectations soften, the demands loosen, and in that quiet space, there's room for something new. If you're willing to look inward, that's the first gift of age, the freedom to finally be yourself. But too many of us ignore it. We stay busy taking care of others, grandkids, aging parents, adult children, neighbors, committees, church groups. We fill our calendars so full that we never stop to ask ourselves, what do I want? So let's start there. The first step, give yourself permission to slow down, permission to say no, permission to take up space, even if it feels selfish. For years, I thought putting others first was noble. And yes, love means giving. But when you give until there's nothing left of you, that's not love. It's depletion. At this point in life, you've earned the right to put yourself first, not in a reckless way, but in a gentle, nurturing way, like you would for someone you deeply care about. Maybe it starts small. Maybe it's saying no to a family event because you need rest. Or maybe it's finally picking up that hobby you always wanted to try but never had time for. Or going on that trip you dreamed of when you were younger but kept postponing for work, for kids, for life. You don't owe anyone an apology for that. In fact, the people who truly love you will celebrate it. I remember when I took my first solo trip after retiring. I went to Ireland. Just me, a backpack and a notebook. I walked along the cliffs of Moher, sat in pubs listening to fiddles and stories, and wrote letters to people I hadn't spoken to in years. For the first time in decades, I felt alive. And you know what? When I came home, I was better company, more present, more joyful, because I had spent time tending to the garden of my own soul. So, friend, I ask you, what part of yourself have you neglected for too long? What dream have you tucked away because it seemed impractical? What part of you deserves a second chance? Give yourself permission to find out. The second step. Let go of approval. This one can be harder than it sounds. We've spent a lifetime seeking approval from parents, teachers, bosses, partners, even strangers. We learned early on that being liked meant safety, that fitting in meant belonging. But at this stage of life, approval becomes a cage. A gilded one perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. Here's the thing. You can't control what people think of you. And honestly, most people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are. Yes, some folks might raise eyebrows when you change course. They'll question your decisions. They'll say things like, at your age? Or don't. You think it's time to settle down. But here's the secret they won't tell you. Those words come from their fears, not yours. They're afraid of change, of uncertainty, of stepping outside the lines drawn for them. So they try to pull you back in. But you don't have to go back in. One of the most freeing moments of my life was realizing that I didn't need to earn love anymore. Real love, the kind that lasts, doesn't require performance. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks that you show up as yourself, messy and wonderful and imperfect. So let go of the need to impress. Let go of trying to meet outdated expectations. Let go of the fear of judgment. You've already survived so much. You've built a life, raised children, held jobs, loved and lost. You've weathered storms and celebrated victories. Isn't it time to live for you? The third step. Rediscover your own voice. Years ago, I met a woman named Marjorie at a community centre poetry class. She was 78 and had never written a poem in her life. She told me she used to write all the time when she was young. Short stories, journal entries, even songs. But after getting married and raising 4 kids, she stopped. She said it was like her voice had gone silent. Until that day in the poetry class, when she picked up a pen and wrote a poem about her mother's hands. It brought tears to everyone's eyes. Afterward, she looked at me and whispered, I forgot how good it felt to speak. Friend, your voice matters. Whether it's through art, music, writing, gardening, cooking, teaching, or simply being fully present in your relationships, there is something inside you that wants to be expressed. Don't wait any longer. Even if your hands shake or your memory slips, even if you feel silly or unsure, start small. Speak your truth. Sing off key. Paint badly. Dance in your kitchen. Write a letter to someone you miss. Rediscovering your voice isn't about talent. It's about reawakening the part of you that knows how to feel, how to create, how to connect. Trust me, when you begin to honor your inner voice, everything shifts. As I sit here writing this, the wind is rustling the leaves outside my window. I can hear birdsong and the distant hum of life moving forward, as it always does. And I want you to know, you are still part of that movement. You are not done yet. There is still beauty waiting for you. Still adventure. Still laughter. Still love. But it begins with turning inward, with choosing yourself, with giving yourself the attention and care you've given so freely to others. And that brings us to something else I think you'll find even more helpful. Dear friend, I hope this letter finds you well, perhaps with a little more peace in your heart since we last spoke. I imagine you've had some time to reflect on what I shared in the first part, giving yourself permission, letting go of approval, and rediscovering your voice. And if those thoughts have stirred something in you, even just a whisper, then I'm glad, because now we turn our attention to something that can be both comforting and challenging, especially at our age. The fourth step: make peace with your past. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to forget the hard parts. Life has given us all its share of bruises, regrets, and moments we wish we could do over. We've made mistakes, said things we didn't mean, held grudges too long, missed opportunities, loved imperfectly, and still, we did the best we could with what we had at the time. That's something I learned only after many years of carrying guilt like a heavy coat in summer. I used to replay old conversations in my head. I wonder how different things might have been if I'd chosen differently, spoken softer, stayed longer, or walked away sooner. But here's what I finally realized: you cannot change the past, but you can choose what it means to you now. Let me tell you about a moment that changed everything for me. When I was 71, my brother passed away suddenly. He and I hadn't spoken in nearly 10 years. A silly argument, something about money I think, had turned into silence. And then one day, he was gone. The guilt hit me like a wave. All the things I wished I'd said, all the apologies I never gave, all the time lost to stubbornness. For months I carried that grief like a stone in my chest, until one evening, while sitting by the fire, I picked up a pen and wrote him a letter. It wasn't going to be sent. It couldn't be. But I needed to say the words out loud. "I'm sorry," I wrote. "I miss you. I wish we had talked again." And as I finished writing, something shifted inside me. Not because the pain went away, it didn't, but because I stopped punishing myself for it. I realized that forgiveness doesn't always come from the other person. Sometimes it starts with you. So I ask you now, gently, is there someone in your past you need to forgive? Or perhaps, is it yourself you need to forgive? Maybe it's a relationship that ended badly, a child you feel you failed, a decision you wish you could undo, or maybe it's simply the way you treated yourself through the years, too harshly, too critically, too dismissively. Whatever it is, I want you to know this. You are allowed to let it go, not to erase what happened, but to stop letting it define your present. Because holding on to regret is like carrying a suitcase full of rocks when you're already tired enough. So, friend, make peace with your story. Every chapter, even the messy ones, they shaped you, but they don't have to shackle you. The fifth step, reclaim your time. This may sound simple, but hear me out. At our age, time becomes the most precious thing we have. And yet, so many of us still give it away without thinking. We fill our days helping others, volunteering, babysitting, running errands, answering calls we don't really want to take. And while those things matter, and yes, love often means showing up, they shouldn't come at the cost of your own peace. One of the greatest gifts of growing older is realizing that you no longer have to explain yourself. You don't have to attend every gathering. You don't have to keep up with everyone's drama. You don't have to justify why you'd rather stay home than go out, or why you've decided to spend your savings on a trip instead of fixing the fence. Your time is yours, and it's okay to protect it. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Helen. She's 73 and lives 2 doors down. For years, she spent her weekends driving across town to visit relatives who barely acknowledged her presence. One day, she told me, I woke up and thought, if I die tomorrow, will anyone remember how much I gave up for them? And the answer was no. So she made a choice. She started spending her Saturdays painting in her garden, taking dance classes, and hosting tea parties for friends who actually enjoyed being around her. She told me, I finally figured out that love should feel good, not like a debt I can't repay. And isn't that true? Reclaiming your time isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's saying, I am worth rest. It's choosing joy over obligation. It's honoring the fact that your life still matters deeply, even if it looks different now. So I encourage you to take an honest look at how you spend your days. Are you doing things that light you up? Or are you simply filling space to avoid feeling empty? There's a difference. And if you find that your calendar is full but your heart feels empty, it's time to start making changes. Gentle, loving changes. Start saying no to the things that drain you. Say yes to the things that remind you you're alive. Protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. The 6th step. Nurture your body and spirit. I know what some of you might be thinking. Easy for you to say, old man. My knees ache, my memory slips. I can't sleep through the night anymore. And you're right. Our bodies change. That's part of aging. But just because we slow down doesn't mean we stop caring for ourselves. In fact, this is the most important time to listen closely to your body, to treat it with kindness, not frustration. Think of your body like a beloved house you've lived in for decades. Some rooms creak, the plumbing groans, but it's still your home, and it deserves care. Eat nourishing food, not just comfort food. Move in ways that bring you joy, whether it's walking, stretching, dancing, or gardening. Sleep as best you can. And when you can't, practice stillness anyway. Stay connected to nature, to music, to laughter, and above all, tend to your spirit. Spirit doesn't have to mean religion. It can mean anything that connects you to something bigger than yourself. A sunset, a grandchild's laugh, a quiet morning prayer, a song that brings tears to your eyes. Those are holy moments, and they matter. So don't neglect them. Make time for wonder, for gratitude, for awe. Because even in our later years, we are capable of feeling deeply, loving fully, and living beautifully, if we take care of ourselves along the way. Friend, we've covered a lot together today. Making peace with the past, reclaiming your time, nurturing your body and spirit. And if any of these ideas landed softly in your heart, I'm grateful, because this journey, this focus on yourself, isn't about turning inward to hide. It's about turning inward, to heal, to grow, to live with intention. And that brings us to something else I think you'll find even more helpful. Dear friend, as I sit here writing this final part of our letter, the sun is setting outside my window. The sky is painted in soft oranges and deep purples, and there's a stillness in the air that feels like the world is holding its breath. Just for a moment. It reminds me of something we often forget as we grow older. Life doesn't stop just because time moves forward. Even now, even at this stage, there is still so much to look forward to. So many quiet joys waiting to be discovered. So many little miracles hiding in plain sight. And if you've made it this far with me, if you've read every word of this letter, you're already doing something beautiful. You're choosing yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of love. Love for the person you've become. Love for the life you've lived. Love for the years that are still ahead. So let's talk about 2 final steps. 2 gentle invitations to help you keep walking this path with grace and joy. The 7th step, let go of comparison. This one might sting a little because comparison sneaks in quietly, doesn't it? You see someone your age starting a new business or traveling the world or posting perfect family photos online, and suddenly you feel small. Or maybe you catch yourself thinking, why haven't I done more? Why don't I look like them? Why don't I have what they have? I've been there. When I was in my early 70s, I had a friend who ran marathons, wrote books, and seemed to have everything figured out. Every time I saw him, I felt like I was falling behind, even though I didn't even want to run a marathon or write a book. But here's what I realized over time. Comparison isn't just unfair, it's pointless. We are all walking different paths, with different histories, different wounds, different blessings, and trying to measure your life against someone else's is like comparing an oak tree to a rose bush. Both beautiful, both strong, but never meant to be the same. Instead of asking, why haven't I done more? Try asking, what have I already done that matters? Maybe you raised children who grew into kind adults. Maybe you held a job for decades and provided for your family. Maybe you survived loss, loneliness, or heartbreak and still kept going. That's not failure. That's resilience. And instead of wondering why you don't look like someone else, ask yourself, how can I honor the body I have today? Eat well. Move gently. Rest when you need to. Celebrate what you can do, not what you used to. You are not behind. You are simply living your life, one step, one breath, one day at a time. So let go of comparison. Let go of the idea that you should be further along. Let go of the pressure to impress anyone. Let go of the belief that your worth depends on how much you achieve. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. The 8th step, live with intention. This one may sound grand, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Living with intention means making choices that align with who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. It means waking up each morning and asking yourself, what do I need today? What brings me peace? What makes me feel alive? And then, when possible, choosing those things. Intentional living isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's choosing to savor your coffee instead of rushing through it. It's calling that old friend you've been meaning to talk to. It's saying no to obligations that drain you and yes to moments that nourish you. Let me tell you about my cousin Eleanor. She turned 70 last year, and instead of throwing a big party, she decided to spend her birthday alone, reading by the lake, eating her favorite pie, and writing letters to people she loved. She told me later, for once, I wanted to celebrate myself without having to explain why I wasn't celebrating everyone else. Can you imagine that kind of freedom? To choose yourself, not out of isolation, but out of deep self-respect. That's what intentional living looks like. It's knowing that your time is limited and deciding to fill it with what truly matters to you. Maybe that means reconnecting with a forgotten passion. Maybe it means simplifying your life, your home, your schedule, your relationships. Maybe it means finally speaking up when something hurts, instead of swallowing your truth to keep the peace. Whatever it means for you, live it fully, live it gently, live it without apology. Because the truth is, we only get one life, and yours is still unfolding. Friend, as I bring this letter to a close, I want to leave you with something simple but powerful, a blessing, a hope, a wish. May you continue to grow wiser, not just older. May you find joy in the quiet corners of life. May you laugh deeply and love freely. May you give yourself the kindness you've given to others. And may you always remember, you matter, your dreams still matter. Your happiness still matters even now, especially now. If these words have spoken to your heart, I would be honored if you shared this letter with someone you care about. Maybe it will remind them too that it's never too late to start living for themselves. And if you'd like to hear more letters like this one, please consider liking and subscribing. There's so much more to share, and I'd love to keep walking this road with you. Until next time, take care of that beautiful soul of yours. With warmth, your elder friend.